Anime, needless to say, has quite the rabid fan base. Dressing up as strange characters, going to conventions, watching cartoons from a foreign nation, it all seems very strange from an outsider's point of view. An insider's point of view, however, portrays a much different side of the same coin. Meeting new people at conventions, taking pictures with people in intricate cosplay, bonding over anime you share a common interest in, all plays a part in the overall experience of being a weeaboo. The real question is, what caused this dedicated passion? Where does such a furious fervor flow from? Precedent dictates the zeal of this capacity stems from an era of nostalgia, our childhoods. And what other team of animators encapsulates the childish wonder in anime like the illustrious Studio Ghibli? This definitive art style, the glorious soundtracks repeatedly produced by the legendary Joe Hisaishi, and the common themes throughout these films come together to form some of the most influential anime films from our childhood. Whether it was a story about respecting nature like in Princess Mononoke, a tale of a young girl's experiences growing up and living on her own like in Kiki's Delivery Service, or simply an adventure story like in Laputa, Castle in the Sky, Studio Ghibli has proven time and time again that they can portray life lessons while creating an endearing cast and charming world simultaneously. And never has this been as true as in their crowning achievement, the best animated feature film of 2003, Spirited Away, a film about a young girl's adventure in a world of powerful witches and strange monsters in an effort to find and rescue her parents. This film, widely considered to be Ghibli's best anime ever, capitalizes on many of the studio's strongest suits, one of which is the beautiful animation. Factoring into the animation department as well as the director's contribution part of our scores is the vivid, gorgeous backgrounds present throughout the movie. It's clear that this is more or less a thumbprint of Miyazaki's involvement, a serious strong point for the anime as a whole. The animation, as is customary of Ghibli, is beautiful as well, never really seeming to dip in quality to cut corners via CGI, blurry back, or foregrounds, etc. The weakest part of this film's animation is their dated character designs that Ghibli has cleaved to for decades. Not many points are lost due to this factor, but it was a factor nonetheless. Another core part of the overall Ghibli experience is their glorious soundtracks that accompany their films, mostly due to the genius of Joe Hisaishi. His incredible talents show through in this film as well, with all the tracks not only being masterful productions, but also by suiting every scene perfectly. Another small part of the points is attributed to the restraint used by both Hisaishi and Miyazaki to keep the scene where Chihiro must locate her parents silent. While the scene may have benefited from some manner of intense music, the quietness of the scene really added to the moment more than any music could and served to emphasize the cheering of the employees when she found them. That covers all the peripheral topics, but what about the content that's original to the anime? What about the characters, the story, the world? Well, I, much like the film itself, think the best place to begin is with the characters, starting with Chihiro. Chihiro, the protagonist of Spirited Away, is a young girl who spends the majority of the film adapting to the unusual circumstances she finds herself in while living in the spirit world. Her development through the story is slow and consistent, with the progression paced almost perfectly. Therein lies the problem, however. Chihiro is largely unoriginal in that she is a typical Ghibli protagonist. A quick comparison can prove this point, as this may strike you as familiar. Misfortune strikes the protagonist, typically in a form of magic, forcing the protagonist to leave their comfort zone in an attempt to right the wrongs of the unfortunate circumstance and, along the way, find their originally submissive attitude, give way to courage, and finally they defeat the elderly villain. It is for this reason that Chihiro receives a fairly low rating in terms of originality, but that's not the end for the girl. While she may not be groundbreaking, she does exhibit two very strong qualities. Much like her previously mentioned peers, she may be a very blasé character, but she's a very reasonable character. The things she does make sense, and there's not really any decisions she makes that are irrational. Even when she trusts Haku, immediately he tells her she isn't safe and needs to run. Literally from the genesis of their relationship, he is watching over her, thus making her trust and later love for him highly reasonable. She also has very solid development, albeit it being hinged on the Ghibli formula. While she may not get full points in this regard, she does get some degree of credit for her character. Haku is, much like Chihiro, a regurgitated archetype of the Ghibli formula. Functioning as the Virgil of this movie, he is very duty-based and is working to recover his memories no matter what. He's not a completely uninteresting character, and once again, much like Chihiro, has a solid development as well as relatability. He lacks the screen time to significantly affect the score, but what influence he had was mostly positive. Another character worth mentioning is No-Face, the creepy monster that pretty much stalks a little girl for the entirety of the anime. The true meaning of this character is obscured by contradicting sources, some of which say he represents human trafficking, while some say he represents the appropriation of Western culture into Eastern culture and the negative influence that Western society is having on Japan. What can be said without a doubt, however, is that this character probably has the strongest development of them all. Starting off as a literal no-face, it seems like this shy ghost is going to be another strangely designed background character, much like the Radish spirit. But once he enters the limelight, he really takes off. Starting off by being a regular character, he quickly adapts to be like the people around him. He starts to learn the value of gold and the desire to have everything he could ask for, later represented in his rampage through the bathhouse. Money-hungry, gluttonous, and furious at anyone who questions him, he truly represents the attitude of the bathhouse employees, and the only thing that brings him back is Chihiro's disappointment in him. Eager to find something meaningful to him, he follows her to the old witch's house and stays there to pursue his passion for sewing. All in all, this character goes through many arcs and has his own unique story to tell, unlike the majority of this anime's cast. He is a major boon to this anime score, and the movie would, without a doubt, not be the same without him. The other characters aren't incredibly important, as they all are reasonably relatable and have decent development, but an honorable mention should be, without a doubt, go to the weird giant baby. He says very little, but in his time as a mouse, he learns to appreciate others and show gratitude, as well as accept things that don't go his way. It's amazing to think that his character that spends most of his time as a silent mouse can develop more than some anime protagonists can in an entire season. Either way, I felt it was worth mentioning. Finally, we come to the story, without a doubt the weakest aspect of the anime. As was said in previous portions of this review, this anime relies heavily on the Ghibli formula, thus its tone is very similar to other Ghibli works, as mentioned in the character section. Simply put, it relies too heavily on convention rather than going for something original, which we've shown works in some aspects and fails in others. The plot also seemed motivated too largely on random happenstance rather than the characters' actions themselves. Chihiro's parents just deciding to go into the middle of nowhere and eat mystery food, Haku showing up being attacked by the witch's sister, No-Face's randomly timed intro as a temporary antagonist, as well as the sudden reveal of Haku being the spirit of the river who saved Chihiro's life. It all seemed randomly introduced rather than a naturally progressing story being propelled by its characters' actions. All that criticism being said, the anime concludes very well, leaving no string untied except for the fact that those poor movers they mentioned may have been stood up for days. All the characters had progressed to some degree and had found their place in the end of the movie, once again proving the intelligence in Miyazaki's direction. Despite all these critiques, the anime stood out as a whole and has a special place in the hearts of anime fans worldwide, and has forever cemented itself as a timeless classic amongst the many classics produced over at Studio Ghibli. It is due to this anime's prestigious nature that it is our first review under our new rating system. Without further ado, Spirit Away gets a serendipitous 69 out of 100. Thank you for watching this installment of Bromandy's Anime Reviews. Please let us know what you think of the review, our new editing and scoring methods, and feel free to leave suggestions for future anime reviews. This has been Crucius and Marcus signing off from Bromandy. Later, guys.
The way your son don't need a gun to get respect up on the street. Under the sun, the bastard son will pop the